as Christians is that we have access to an infinite mind via revelation by relationality.
Yeah, but like that's a story, right? Sabrina also said like God isn't real. The pursuit of God is what's real. So like the pursuit towards that, I like if I'm
Well, it's
understanding
again,
properly.
Well,
that would be a claim,
there's
sure.
well, no, it's a concept of discipline to the symbol. So when you orient yourself towards an idea, a narrative, or heck, an icon or whatever, right? Like you're reporting a list of your values in a hierarchy, right? And that's all you're doing, and you're kind of narrowing your frame and how you engage with the world, depending on the environment that you're in, right? So you can make sense of it, right? It gives a sense of continuity for what it is that you're doing,
Mhm.
right? So you can navigate through that. It's just holding on to a narrative and making use of it. That's all.
Yeah,
It's a discipline to the symbol.
yeah. So like,
And it's very powerful too. Like I was Catholic, man. I mean, even if
mhm.
you're not, like it's all the same, whatever, religious disposition you take yourself on.
I have a question about like Christian morality to the Christians, because like I wasn't raised Christian, right? I was raised secular. But I had like I was like also like the environment I was in was like fairly religious, and I always found I had like such a distaste for the notion that we are supposed to act in a way that is good because we will be rewarded in the afterlife if we act well, right? And like to me, it wasn't like self-evident at all that like God was like this supreme good being or a judge. And I always thought, well, okay, well, if let's suppose that God is evil, because that doesn't seem to me like contradictory, because I wasn't like it could be anything, could be no God. So let's say that like God is evil and like rewards bad behavior. Does that mean that we have to act in a way that is like destructive? Like why is a morality based upon a system of like reward and punishment? It just like left a bad
It's
taste
not.
in my mouth.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
just
Oh, so
It's unfortunate that it was presented to you in such a way where you imagined it was a point system where God
yeah.
pats you on the head when you do a good thing, or he smacks you on the bottom when you do a bad thing. Like I would argue would be more of a limitation of the human beings that you were surrounded by, rather than an
Yeah.
okay,
actual
so
representation of the nature
Also,
of God.
I
so
want to add,
how
when you
how is
said
it
God
a
can be
proper way?
evil, I don't think that's possible, right? Like evil by definition is a privation.
Exactly.
So it's like cold. Like the foundation of reality cannot be evil. Like the foundation of reality
Well,
cannot be cold.
Because
Like
it's not a
heat is
positive.
a positive aspect about reality, and then coldness would just be a privation. It's not a actual existing thing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
not
mean,
Like you can use it
I
against cold, but it doesn't mean that cold actually exists in reality. That makes sense.
I kind of I'm kind of the opinion like I'm also like I don't think that there's like an absolute good or evil or anything like that, and I actually like I engage with that as a child, because like you could like abstract, like sure you could abstract like cold, or like let's say light and dark, right? So you could abstract light to be like the assertion, and then darkness to be a negation. But then you can just as easily like really like flip it around and be like, okay, darkness is actually the assertion and light is like the a hole in the darkness. Like you can flip it either way and it's going to be consistent. It's just like what color is the paper, right? So like is it like a black paper with a white background or a white paper with a black
Well, yeah,
background?
that's the
And
relationship with language, right? We only understand context or ideas through the negation of meaning. That's it.
yeah, so like
That's all we're doing.
mhm.
Um,
You could
No,
flip
I would
it
just say,
either
like, when
way.
we're talking about like privation, like when we're talking about ontological like reality, like when we're talking about metaphysics, we don't have to, like, we're using language as a tool to convey our ideas, but it doesn't mean that these things that we're talking about doesn't have like any like ontological status. So when I say like God is good, and good is this positive attribute of
but
reality, like
but you're
it's not
making
saying like like we're getting like caught up in the semantics when we're talking about how like, oh,
but
I'm
isn't that
using the
all it
word
is though?
good. And
I mean,
Like
Yeah.
to frame the world as in any such fashion, right, is to make some sort of evaluation that's just purely symbolic on based on how we interact with the external world.
well, like
And
well,
why
like I
can't
said,
it be a fundamental right,
What?
thing to the universe.
Well, what I stated earlier is that the reason why we have any knowledge of God is because the knowledge has been revealed to us either through the scriptures, personal revelation, or through the life of the church. And you said that was a story, which is perfectly fine if you want to have that contention. But if you're going to turn around and engage in thought experiments by saying that, well, we could just invert the two, like you have some sort of
Like, for
high
example,
value that you have, because hold on, you say it's just as consistent. Consistency isn't necessarily like the determining factor of truth. Consistency is nice, consistency is great, but if you're going to sit here and say that we're just engaging in storytelling when we talk about revelation, then turn around and
But it is
tell
a
some thought
story.
experiments.
But it is a story. Like everything that we do is a story.
Yeah, and then the practice of engaging in the negation and talking about how, well, maybe God is evil and the world
That
is terrible
that's more
and
of
goodness
a
is
nature of
that's just
language when
a
we're trying to size the world up to the language we use.
it's
Right?
just
We
a
only
thought experiment.
understand things right in contrast to things, mainly in the negation of meaning.
Well, it's just
Right? When we take things out,
it's a
that
thought
gets like,
experiment. It's a story, and it's not based on revelation. It's based on
well,
your,
what is revelation? Like
your
I mean, like you could just easily just say it's a story like that a
you
lot of people have
engage
picked up from within. Like
you engage with revelation all the time. When someone taught you something that you didn't experience yourself firsthand and empirically, that knowledge was revealed to you.
oh yeah, but then you question it, right? Like you engage with the world through questioning, and you never hold any sense of revelation. You never hold anything as absolute. That's how you learn, right? Like if someone told me this, and then I'll be like, sure, maybe it's this, but maybe it's that. That's
Wait,
the way
hold
you
on.
approach it.
Christians aren't going around saying that it's absolutely true Cartesian certainty that God exists. We're saying we're
Yeah,
using our minds and we're coming to like we're following the evidence where it leads, and then we're using our faith to assent to and
but isn't the
believe
faith
in and
doing the
put
exact
our
opposite
trust
of that
in
though?
a certain proposition.
But faith
mm.
but faith doesn't allow you to
Viltrum,
question.
welcome to agnosticism.
No, that's not agnosticism. That's Christianity.
No, but
If you
like where the
believe that
evidence
Christ
leads
is
to,
Lord and
it's
you
not going to be through faith.
trust in Him, like that's Christianity. That's not agnosticism.
For the
Yeah,
light,
we're
for the
based. You're not.
cold.
We're right. You're wrong. Have a nice.
But
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
that's not very that's opposite of that's not very genuous. Genuous. That's disingenuous.
That's why I said I was kidding.
That's not very genuine of you. No, but for like the light, for like the cold and warm thing, right? Like you said that someone said, I'm not sure who, that like cold is like the negation of like warmth. But I think that's mainly like it's like a semantic thing that we apply because we humans are better suited for warm weather. But like imagine you're an ice
No,
cube, or like
No,
not an
no,
ice
no, no,
cube,
no,
but
no,
like
no,
no,
it's
no,
not.
imagine,
no.
No, this
We're
is
not. We're not
purely
saying
yeah.
it's an.
scientific.
We're
This
not
isn't
saying.
actually about reality.
We're
So
not
there is no
saying
thing in reality called or about like coldness, right?
the
Like
coldness is not a force.
when we're examining like on a scientific level, when we're examining like temperature, we're talking about energy. So the amount of energy you have, like the more energy you have a higher temperature.
Yeah,
So
okay, no,
this
but that's
idea
that's
of coldness is just a privation of energy.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
yeah, yeah,
no,
but
it's
how
not.
do
This
It's
you?
not.
gap
It's not.
between like
when you
more
say
energy and less energy isn't
It,
an actual ontological
it's
It,
fact.
actually not. It's not that because like so coldness and heat. So cold and heat is our experience of this like particle state, right? It's not a property of the substance. What the observable properties of the substance is that the particles either move a lot or they stand still, right? And you
yeah,
could say,
that's the
okay,
thermal.
well,
Yeah, that's
moving,
exactly my
okay,
point.
but you could say that moving a lot is a positive, like a positive assertion, right? But then I could also say that I could place like stillness as a positive assertion. It's like the closer you get to being still, the more positive
well,
it is,
yeah,
and the
it's
more things
the
move.
No, that's
no,
not
but
actually
Yeah,
the
you
case. So
could
when you
literally flip
look
the
at like
framing.
Kelvin, for example, like
yeah,
Kelvin is just a measurement of energy. So when you have
Okay,
a
sure.
higher number, you have more energy. Lesser number, that's less energy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
you
So
you could
could
when you
just
also say
go
the
easily
higher
from
flip it
number is just
10
around.
farther away
Kelvin,
from stillness.
well,
yeah.
I
You
mean,
So
could
dude,
literally
what
flip it
what
around.
finish. So
I mean, she's right.
when you go from like 10 Kelvin to 1 Kelvin, you're not adding anything into reality. You're taking it away. So when you
No,
have like
you
I
can
said
add
you're adding
stillness.
stillness.
like heat,
Yeah.
when you have this
it's just
entity like heat or
it's
energy, when you remove all energy and you have this absolute zero, quote unquote, would be like that's what you're talking about when you say an evil God.
That's
Like you have
perfect
absolute
stillness.
zero. Absolute
no,
zero is just literally nothingness. You have
Yeah, that's
zero
no,
maximum
energy,
stillness.
that's
zero
no.
ontological value.
It's not merely that. And again, like what's happening here is a switch back and forth between the linguistic application of the term cold and the actual molecular reality that's taking place. Temperature is a measurement of the kinetic energy. It is not the linguistic description of the feeling of cold. So, in the most fundamental sense, it's not a negation, it is the privation. They're not equivalent terms.
Privation?
Heat is the thing, yeah, privation. Heat is the thing that exists. And the absence of heat in the energetic sense is cold. The linguistic, you feel cold when you go outside and there's a brisk wind, but that is the subjective way in which you describe the energetic reality. So
Yeah, but
no,
it's still
But
it's
like
still an
even
arbitrary choice which
no,
one
it's
you
not.
pick is the positive. Yes, it
yeah,
is,
it
because
is.
you can just
No,
say
it's not.
you can say
again,
that perfect stillness at 0 Kelvin is the natural state of the world, and everything that
Yeah,
moves away from perfect stillness
No,
is the privation of stillness because there's more movement.
No, so the
so true.
Right?
You
difference
So
can
like,
flip it
between
either
heat
way.
and cold is adding
Arbitrary.
something to reality and not having anything in reality. So if I
well,
have
I
No, but
mean,
you're
if
gonna have stuff in
I have
reality, but
reality
it's just
where
like, is it
it's
moving or is
not,
it not moving? It's like
hold on,
how are they interacting in relation to one another?
hold on, hold
And
on,
like
hold on, hold on, hold on.
sure,
So
yeah,
let's say I have this hypothetical reality, right? And I just start off with a vacuum. It's just
Literally
nothingness,
high school
right?
level chemistry.
Is there anything in that reality? It's this reality that I just created. Is there anything in that reality?
in
Well, I
a
mean, you said you
vacuum.
That was the
created it.
question.
Man,
If you
well,
created
what's
it,
the,
then you had to have created something, right?
Well, let's just say I have this vacuum and it's just nothingness. All there is like this dome around like this cube of like nothingness.
Sounds like you
uh,
have perfect stillness.
I mean, like, what's the
Yeah,
meaning of up and
that's
down
just
in a vacuum?
that's just
Right?
nothingness, bro.
Well, that's
Like
another
the way
word
that
for stillness.
the,
it's
I mean,
really
the way that we engage with these,
Yeah,
like
so
with
when you have
reality,
nothingness,
arbitrary.
that's not a positive
it's not
aspect about
arbitrary.
reality.
It
Like
is
if
arbitrary.
I
No,
add in
it's
a
Yeah, it
not.
is.
rock,
It's perfect
that is a
stillness.
positive attribute of
How
reality.
much
but that's
energy
wrong again. That's
how
wrong
much
because
thermal energy something contains is not arbitrary.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the fact that you're asserting thermal energy, like the fact that you're asserting energy, which is movement, it's a movement of particles, right? As a positive is arbitrary because you could just as well say that when everything is perfectly still,
I'm
that is a positive value, and then the more things move, the more you take away. Like the scaling is completely arbitrary.
No,
What you set
again,
as positive is negative, and like even when you solve problems in physics and chemistry, it doesn't matter what values you take as positive and what values you take as negative, as long as that you keep the thing consistent, because then the signs will cancel out and you'll get the same value. So it doesn't matter what sign you give the thing. Like you could take energy to be negative, and then like you can flip the scaling, and you'll get the same result, because it's just a means of like showing contrast, right? Like you could say movement in the right direction is a positive value and movement in the left direction is a negative value, or you can flip it around. It doesn't matter.
sure, but you're
So
just applying like set theory to reality,
I don't know
right?
what
Like
I'm
if I
applying,
like,
but
for example,
it's
Kelvin,
still
the
arbitrary.
example that I keep using, like Kelvin is the
Hmm.
measurement of energy, right? So if I have zero energy, that's 0 Kelvin. You have zero heat.
Okay,
It's
define
That's
just
energy.
absolute
it's
coldness, right?
it's
But
ridiculous
it's
on
not
the
an
face.
actual existing thing in reality. You're just measuring like how much heat or cold is in there, right? So
It's
when I have 0 Kelvin, you have nothingness, right? You
it's
have
ridiculous.
zero energy.
It's ridiculous on the face of it to sit here and carry on in a debate with someone who denies the possibility of knowledge.
I don't know.
We're not talking about knowledge
Destroy
anymore.
made that argument like 30 minutes ago, and I threw him out the window.
But I think
No,
the
that was
idea.
Sabrina saying that we can't know it.
Well, it was Sabrina. It was Sabrina who
And then
said
it
and then
was
destroyed. No, but I
what's
want
her
to get.
name that
I
jumped to
don't.
the defense of Sabrina to
And
back that
Sabrina's
up.
deafened, though.
Yeah, Sabrina and Holly are they're homies. That shouldn't bother you. But the thing
It
but
doesn't
I
bother
think
me that they're friends, Bubba. What bothers me is that Holly is clearly presenting herself as on the side of Sabrina. I don't care if Sabrina made the original claim. Holly is now jumping
Okay,
in to supplement the argument.
this is a weird
But,
meta.
is that not allowed?
This is yeah. I was just gonna say this is a weird meta red herring. I just wanted to like get to the.
It's not a
point.
meta red herring.
This is
We're
like
sitting here
okay,
talking about the possibility of knowledge.
then let's not talk about how arbitrary it is to talk about
So what's the
talk
debate
to
about?
someone. I'm trying to ask you like to get to the main point of the debate. How do we define what is the proper deprivation standard, right? When we were talking about Kelvin, when we say that something is the deprivation of Kelvin, it's like saying it has how much energy it doesn't have. So when you have 0 Kelvin, you
We're
have 0
not
energy.
talking about
So when we're talking about hot and cold, right? How do you know that cold is the deprivation of what is hot and it's not the other way around? How do you know that hot is not the deprivation of cold? Or if you're going the other way, the same would be good for like, that's what we're talking about, like good and evil.
Yeah, so that's literally the whole point of me bringing up Kelvin, right? You can't have negative Kelvin. So the whole like a positive or negative debate, like it's irrelevant here. Because
you don't
when
need
you have 0
negative
Kelvin,
Kelvin.
you have nothing in that system.
Yeah,
Right? You have 0 energy.
When it comes
Yeah,
to
you have
it's not
perfect
it's
stillness.
not
You
like
have maximum
this,
stillness.
It's not this like relative. Oh, I have like more heat or less heat or anything like that.
Yeah, sure, that's
it's
fine.
how much energy is.
That's where the problem is arising,
It's-
though, is that they are literally proposing that it is relative, that it's arbitrary.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's
I
just,
don't know
I mean,
anyone.
ask any scientist. It's not a relative.
I don't think
thing.
that they're. I don't
That's
think
the whole point. The whole
I have
reason
been
we
listening the
use
whole
Kelvin
time,
is
and I kind of
because it's
know.
not relevant.
And Sapphire, you know as well. You know that that's a straw man. Holly's not saying that
Not a straw man.
that you know that Holly's not saying that Kelvin is relative.
No, she explicitly said it's the language is arbitrary, and that's fine. The
Yes,
language can be
it
conventional,
is.
Sure.
but the
Arbitrary.
reality isn't.
No, but the scaling you put, like what you assert as a positive and what you assert as a negative is arbitrary, and you can literally while you're solving
Linguistically.
No,
equations in physics, if you like
it's
if you
not a positive or negative thing. Evil
no
by
no, but like
definition is a privation. Coldness by definition is a privation.
no, it's not a privation by
Yes, it
definition.
is.
It's
It's a
just that
privation
we
of
set
heat.
it. We could also say that heat is a privation of cold. Like I can
No,
just as
that's
easily
not
do
how we
that.
measure heat.
Yeah, why not?
Uh-huh.
We can't measure.
yeah.
We can't use like
Yeah.
Yeah, Viltrum. The idea.
By convention, we don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say Viltrum. The idea
We're not
is.
measuring how cold.
The idea is you can just say that. Like you could just say like, yeah, I know that cold is just the deprivation of heat, but why isn't it the other way around? Why can't we say that heat is just the deprivation of what is cold?
I explained this. All
All right, then go ahead and reiterate. Sorry, I
again.
wasn't listening.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
again,
and, like-
when you have heat, you have a positive reality. You have energy, right? And when you
That's
take
begging the
away that
question.
energy,
I posted a
you're
link in the
taking away-
sidebar, by the
You're
way.
taking away
Yeah.
an aspect of
No,
reality.
You're begging the question
but-
because you're just
Have this
defining it as
reality of
positive.
nothingness and say I have a thing in this nothingness which is cold. That's contradicting yourself.
You know,
right?
that's literally not how physics works. That's not how physics works. At absolute zero, you still have energy, but you have maximized potential energy. Yes, you have maximized potential energy,
How do
and
you
you have
have-
no kinetic energy. You have no kinetic
Wait,
energy,
hold
but
on.
you have
How do you have
potential energy.
potential energy in absolute zero?
But the energy in a system always remains constant. Potential energy is that
No,
it's
if
the
there
energy.
is no energy in a system, then it's not constant, or it's not.
Yeah,
there's
but
no
you're
energy.
you're bringing it to a halt. Like there is at absolute zero, they have potential energy because there's still capacity for movement, but it's not
No,
being
Harley,
actualized.
the whole reason
Yeah.
is that you can't.
There's also
have
rest.
absolute
There's also
zero.
rest
Like,
energy.
that's not
There's
even a
bound
thing.
energy in the strong force. There's plenty of energy in a system that
But
is at
we're
0
talking
Kelvin.
about kinetic
Kinetic
energy.
energy is different.
Sure, yeah, like
That's what we're talking about is the kinetic energy. Look at the link in the sidebar.
No, but
It's high school
that's not-
chemistry.
Man, this
No,
is like
you
1
guys-
+ 1. Y'all should have known this, man.
It's right
This
there.
is- What do you mean it's right? Cold doesn't exist. Yeah, they're saying that
It's in
it's
the
different.
sidebar.
This is a use of semantics to go to tell high school students, oh, okay, you
You're the
can look
one
at things
employing
differently.
semantics by saying
No,
that it's
I'm
arbitrary.
not.
The language that we use is arbitrary. That's the
It is
semantic argument.
it's a model of reality, right? It's a model of like how
It's a
we
semantic
approach like
model.
this. No, it is it is a semantic model. Physics is a
Exactly.
everything is a model. Yeah, so you cannot make any claims. You cannot make any claims on the nature of reality
And yet,
through
here
the
we are
semantic
having a
model.
debate. And yet,
Well,
here we are. You're trying to convince me of the truth of your position. Silly.
well, I'm trying.
That's
No,
ridiculous
it's not
on its
silly.
face.
It's not ridiculous on its face. That
It is.
you're
Is your
no.
position
Why?
true?
It's my position.
It's just as
I'm not
valid.
making.
No.
No,
I'm not asking for validity. I'm asking, is your position true?
Well, it's just as true as yours. That's the point. The point is
Thank
it's
you,
arbitrary.
Curveball. I'm asking Holly.
I am not making any truth statements. I'm saying you cannot make truth
And yet,
statements.
you are debating. You say, no, it's not. You are negating what is being
Yeah, I don't know
claimed.
why atheists keep doing this. Like they always
What
say,
do you
"Oh, I'm not
mean?
I don't have a stance on this. I'm not making a positive claim." Or,
Okay, the
like,
ad hom
you
is cute.
literally
The
are-
ad
you're
hom is cute.
taking
The
a
ad hom is
stance when you
cute.
say
But go
X
ahead.
is false.
The ad hom is cute, but
Like that's
let
literally
her
It's
speak.
not an ad hom to call someone an atheist if they are
Why
an
ju-
atheist.
getting a
Bubba.
Noah-
Well, when
getting-
you say this is what
Yeah.
this is what they do, this is what
Yes.
atheists do. Then,
Thank
and
you,
call it something
curveball.
You
negative,
guys-
that is
Yeah,
an ad hom.
that's not an ad hominem.
Come on.
An ad hominem.
You're-
do you even-
Attacking
do
the
you know
person,
what
not
an
the
ad
argument.
hominem is?
Attacking the
An ad
person, not the
hominem is
argument.
It's not
valid.
a personal attack. Are you an
using-
atheist, Holly? Hold on. Are you an atheist, Holly?
Huh?
Are you an atheist?
I'm an app. Like I don't. It doesn't concern me whether God exists or not. You can
There-
strive
so again-
towards.
You're an atheist.
Why?
You can
What
strive-
is
sure,
what is
okay.
with
Like, why can't you?
I don't
Why is this so
know.
difficult?
What do you mean
exactly.
so
If I
difficult?
said
I don't.
in the way that you were
That
obviously
doesn't- that's
portraying the word atheist,
because-
Sapphire, it's like if I were to say this fucking Jew over here, then clearly I'm
Alright,
using the
no
word
fuckers,
Jew
no.
in a derogatory way, which is clearly attacking the person and not the argument.
If you were calling me
Yeah.
a Jew, it might be derogatory because you were using it. But if you were talking to an actual Jew, you're describing what they actually are. You're identifying by the thing that they identify as.
Yeah,
you
even
are not an atheist. You're a deist. So if I'm this deist over here believes this, you'd be like, "That's ad hominem, bro. Ad hominems."
Yeah, absolutely.
You always do that whenever someone
not an
levels a
ad hominem.
critique.
Oh yeah, 100% do. I say ad hom, hasty generalization, post hoc. I do that all the time.
You
That's why it makes a
employ
fucking
it.
fallacy.
You employ it fallaciously.
I
You
fallaciously
the
employ fallacies.
fallaciously.
What the fuck is wrong with you? How do you fallaciously employ a fallacy?
You do it all the time.
How?
You just did it when you said that calling someone an atheist when they are actually
In
an
the way
atheist
that you
was an
did it,
ad hoc.
yes, and Curveball agrees with me.
No.
In the way.
Hold
in
on.
the way.
Just
Doesn't
calling
matter
someone
if
an
Bro
atheist
agrees
is not
with
an
you.
ad hom.
Yes, by
when
that-
you say all atheists do this negative thing, then you are attacking
What
an
negative
aspect
thing?
of their character
hold
rather
on,
than
I
their
never said
position.
all atheists do X.